Mckinney from Baylor College of Medicine and the University of Texas School of Public Health, Houston, Texas.
Hi, good morning. I'm so excited to be part of this conference this year. Last year at this time, I was in the Dominican Republic doing an amazing HIV rotation at Clínica de Familia La Romana. Today I'd like to give you a little snapshot about my experience at the clinic and also discuss a little bit the research project I did there. In my opinion, there are kind of central components that make a good student international rotation. The chance to see different clinical cases, the chance to see how medicine really works in a research-poor setting, the chance to interact with people outside the clinical setting in the community, flexibility to kind of make your experience what you want out of it, sharing of information between institutions, and then some sort of scholarly project. Of course, it doesn't hurt if there's beautiful crystal clear water that you can go snorkeling in, which I quite enjoyed. Just some examples of how I got to see different clinical cases. I went on HIV rounds at the local hospital. Antepartum rounds at the local hospital. I actually saw a case of whole body anasarca from preeclampsia, which you don't get to see that often in the US. Some mornings spent in the emergency triage center at Clínica de Familia. And then rotations, outpatient rotations through Adolescent OB-GYN Center, general HIV visits, pediatrics, and Programa de la Mujer, which is a sex worker program, lots of STI type experiences. Also, medicine research poor setting, beyond just the limitations of testing and medications, what sort of things you can treat with, is how to actually get the medical services to people in the community that cannot get to the actual formal health establishments. An example of this is I went on some home visits with social workers where we literally had to take 3 or 4 buses, and these were little guaguas, they're little tiny little buses that everybody crams in, and then you have to wait for the one motocontra or the one motorcycle taxi driver who happens to know where this family of HIV orphans lives so you can get them their HIV medications because they obviously cannot come to the clinic. Also did some outreach to Bateyes, the sugar cane plantations where we did rapid HIV testing. This is one of the only opportunities these people have to get diagnosed and treated if they need to. Also back in the formal establishments, you kind of get to realize, okay, so what exactly do you need for a normal vaginal delivery? Apparently this is it. The women have to walk in this room, they climb up on those tables, and they have the babies. And this really is this is the public hospital in La Romana. Interacting with the people, this is one of my favorite parts of this rotation, is that I really got to get in the Dominican culture. One way was through, the clinic was basically a Clínica de Familia, but it was a family. All the staff were a family, and I got to go on do activities with them. We had dinners, we had beach days, and just really got immersed in the culture. Also, I got to get into the community and really interact with people. You know, this is a group of prostitutes at one of the negocios, one of the brothels in La Romana. And it was just amazing to me how similar these girls were to my friends. You know, they obviously have a different path in life, but they have the same hopes and dreams that we all do. Someone who I did not have as much in common with were the owners of the negocios, but also a very important group of people to be able to interact with and learn how to deal with, because these guys ultimately determine the safety of their workers. Flexibility, it was really nice. I met with a mentor every week, and they kind of helped me set up my own schedule. For me, this meant spending more time in the L&D ward at the hospital doing some C-sections or helping with some C-sections and stuff like that. It's also really important to share information. There's definitely an issue in global health in general in disseminating new research from the US and other developed countries into these developing countries. So something I did was did a couple presentations to the clinic staff, all the medical staff, all the support staff. First, last summer there was a new set of HIV guidelines came out in the Annals of Internal Medicine, so presented that, and then presented the ACOG practice bulletin on HIV positive GYN care, which had a lot of things that they just didn't know, the medical doctors didn't know about. And then finally, a scholarly project really allows you to put all of these things together. When I got there, the clinical question was this. So family planning is available at Clínica de Familia for all people, and it's all free. You don't have to pay anything for it. But women kept talking about these unintended pregnancies, and this was especially an issue in the HIV population where you have all these health problems associated with the pregnancy for both the women and the possible transmission to the babies. So, you know, I think a lot of times when we think about addressing a problem, we go immediately to the intervention. But what I did is I wanted to take a step back. I took more of a qualitative approach and asked, okay, so what are the issues? Why are women not using contraception? Why are they having these unintended pregnancies? So I used a combination of focus groups and one-on-one interviews. Just FYI of note, 62% stated that the last pregnancy was unintended. So this is a large problem. So what did I find out? First of all, knowledge about the methods really wasn't an issue. Over 90% heard talks in the waiting rooms, and they received counseling from multiple people during their stay at or during their visits to the clinic. They also knew about condoms, they knew about oral contraceptives, and they knew about Depo-Provera. In terms of logistics, not only did they know that the methods existed, they knew exactly where and how to get the methods. So that really wasn't an issue. And you know, in some other places, social influences were more of an issue. In this population, though, they said, you know, my friends and family, what they think matters, but it's not a reason for me to use or not use a certain method of contraception. What did matter was the partner's opinion. 86% that said that the partner's opinion was so important, and it determined whether they used or didn't use family planning. Men are bothered by condoms, and more kind of surprisingly, there's this cultural idea that men use protection in the street when they have extramarital partners, but with their wife at home, they don't want to use protection, which is how a lot of these women that I talked to got actually infected. Another issue is kind of the health concerns related to different methods. Condoms, like I said, just bother the women and their partners, so they don't like to use them. Oral contraceptives, women didn't really seem to have any health concerns, but they did say that they forget to take them. 4 out of the 21 interviews I did, the women became pregnant while taking pills, which is obviously not good. Compounding this, of course, are the antiretrovirals and oral contraceptive interactions, which make them not as useful anyway. Depo-Provera, the average duration of use was 3 months. Women tried this one time and absolutely did not use it again. The women seemed to have this idea that if their period was not normal and regular every single month, it was an indication of a decline in their health status. So they actually felt like the blood was accumulating and causing them harm. And then there were all these misconception myths associated with the IUD that cause infections all the time. It can get lost in the body, or it causes cancer. So what I did is I kind of analyzed all the data I got from my focus group and the questionnaires, and I came up with some recommendations, and these recommendations were presented to the whole clinic staff and the outreach groups to be able to put into their practice. The first one, this is kind of a larger theme, is that we need to address the other factor in the family planning equation, which is the men. So much is focus on the women and the children that we forget that men are the other half of this equation. We need to work out what men think about family planning and use that to form interventions that may be more helpful. Also, specific counseling, we need to address the mechanism and action of the methods. While menstrual changes are normal and they are not an indication of health problems, and dispel some of those myths surrounding IUDs. So this research was published in Sexuality Research and Social Policy if you want to learn a little bit more about how I actually did this. But we haven't gotten the data back for this year for Clínica de Familia, but I hope in the future that we can see if some of these recommendations did help at all. So I love this picture. So this is after one of my Bate visits. We were so excited. We gave out all these condoms, and I was driving out, and this is what I saw. They make great balloon puppets or something. I don't know. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll take any questions now.
No questions? Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.